Hello, everyone. My name is Alison Desmond, and I'm coming to you live from DC. I am the digital marketing specialist for Velocity Growth, which is one of the title sponsors of DC Startup Week, which is very, very exciting. So thank you so much for joining us. DC Startup Week is a 5-day conference held in the fall every year, focused on building the startup community. We want to give you a quick shout out to our title sponsors, Next by Schumann Rogers, Silicon Valley Bank, Zendesk, Velocity Growth, Think Nimble, Arison, and NFP. This one is a Growth Track sponsors, Velocity Growth, which is our team here, myself, John, and Drew, and Age Tech Collaborative from AARP. If you have any questions throughout the talk, please put an all caps question at the start of your chat so we make sure not to miss any questions. If you would like to access closed captions, please click the closed captions button at the bottom and click enable. We are so excited to have our wonderful speakers, Samantha and Shantae, who will be just doing a fantastic presentation for us this morning. And we're so excited to have them for DC Startup Week. So please join me in welcoming our two fantastic speakers, Samantha and Shantae.
Awesome. Hello and welcome. We are so excited for you all to be here today. Shantae and I both are coaches, executive leadership coaches with Wild Leadership. And so we're so excited to be here and to hold space. This session might be a little different than some of your other sessions, I'm not sure. First, it's virtual. I know there's a lot of events that are in person. And this session is really going to be about you and helping you to tap back into self with calm and ease. And so you'll see that the title of our session, Moving to the Rhythm of Nature, and helping us to balance and manage our energy to improve performance. What we've noticed, Shantae and I as coaches, working with individuals in all different industries, is that life is going really fast. Especially in the startup community, workplaces, our communities. And it's at this fast pace that oftentimes it's hard to keep up. And it's not that we can't, it's just that sustainability, us as humans, we need times to pause, to be, to rest, to drink water, something we often forget about. And it's in those times of moments in pause and recollecting our energy is when we can be more successful, have a better output and better performance. And I think a lot of us logically know this, but it's really in the body and in the heart to put it into practice. And so today, our hope is that you're walking away with some tools and techniques to be able to do that. And it's really thinking about what it is behind the science and stress of it. And so at Wild, what we do is we help individuals through one-on-one coaching, workshops, and retreats. And it's through that is where we want to give you, in this kind of mini workshop series, an insight behind how are you operating and how can you fully express yourself in a way that's productive, not only for your life and your community, but also in the work that you're doing. And to get us started today, I'm actually going to have Shantae introduce herself, and then she's going to guide us in a meditation. And this is a practice that we have noticed as something that you can bring, if you don't already, into your daily routine as a way to reconnect, recenter, to help you go back into those activities and into those things that you need to work on. So I'm going to welcome in Shantae.
Thank you for bringing me into this space. What's really dope is that here we are in this moment on the date, September 13th. And as Samantha shared, that we both are executive leadership coaches and working with Wild. And one of the things that I enjoy the most is how I start my day. And in gratitude, excited to be able to start the day with you all in the space of ease, sustainability, and gentleness. You know, some like hashtag soft life kind of thing. And so what I'm going to do is just a mini meditation experience. And by all means, some of you all probably, you know, was like, I woke up like this and I got into my pose. And some of you are like, yo, I just had my coffee. Well, collectively, we're going to guide ourselves into this moment. So what I want to do is, and I want to invite you all to If you have your cameras on, go ahead and turn them off. Not saying I don't want to see your beautiful faces, but there's something about the black squares, you know, and names too. And as you all turn off your cameras and wherever you are, either if you're sitting in a chair at home or you're sitting in a chair in the location, I'm actually going to invite you all to get comfortable. Now, if you're around other people, it might look a little different, but that's okay. Because in this moment, we are together. And so being together means that we're going to ease ourselves into this space. So again, everyone has their camera off, which is great. And in having your camera off, this also means that you're not looking at anything else but me. You're looking and listening to me, because inviting in the meditation and thinking about this idea of ease and joy, this splendid position that we're going to put ourselves in is going to take us to the next level. And in taking us to the next level, I'm going to play a little song to start us off with. So typically, in thinking about this moment, as we allow for this space together collectively to exist, I want to invite you all to think about ease and joy as it relates to your nervous system and your overall well-being. Allowing yourself to inhale and exhale. Mm-hmm. And as you're listening to the song, I'm going to invite you to find your rhythm and your pace to your breath. Inhaling and exhaling to the rhythm of you. By now, you could have closed your eyes or found a location to gaze softly. Inhaling and exhaling to the rhythm and the pace of you. And bringing in this moment, right? Of what is life like with ease and joy. So as you're inhaling and exhaling, I want to invite you to consider that ease and joy. And as you inhale and exhale, giving yourself permission to just be in this moment, dropping your shoulders, relaxing your mind. And I'm going to invite you to take a deep inhale in 5, 4, 3, 2, hold it right there. And release with an audible sigh. Returning to the inhale and exhale, the rhythm and pace of your breath. Collectively holding space to release, to pause in this moment. And as you inhale, you're taking in all of the ease, and you exhale, you're letting out the joy, the rhythm and pace of your breath, allowing for you to calm your nervous system. And on this last inhale, it's going to be deep. I'm going to invite you to consider who you will become at the end of this session. Once you invite ease and joy, And go ahead and take an inhale deep in 5, 4, 3, 2, bring it to the top, right there. And release. Returning to the rhythm and the pace of your breath, allowing for this moment to serve as a safe space of peace, ease, and joy. Inhaling and exhaling. And once you feel comfortable enough, opening up your eyes and returning to the room. And if you feel even more comfortable, being able to turn on your cameras to let us know that you're here on the Zoom. Welcome.
Thank you, Shantae. And as you're arriving back into this space, I encourage you to just think about or notice what came up during listening to Shantae. If it were thoughts of calm, if it was thoughts of, this is weird, I don't do this, if it was thoughts of, oh my gosh, I have so much to do on my checklist, just notice what comes up. I think there's something about whether you want to call it meditation or just a moment of quiet or pause, that thoughts or feelings, it gives them space to arrive. And when we take a minute to notice what they are, then we know what to do with them. And that's what we're exploring today, is really the science, and we're just gonna be able to scratch the surface, but the intro of the science of stress, well-being, and natural signals to our bodies that we're safe, to help us improve that quality of work and life. And hopefully, again, to walk away with either strategies you're already doing to keep doing, or new strategies that support in between the pause and the transition to help manage that energy. And it's really thinking about, as we're doing it right now, it's a change of season. Shantae and I are both in the Midwest. I'm in Minnesota, she's in Chicago. And I don't know about you, Shantae, but here in Minnesota, it's like fall. September came and it's like fall has arrived. The sun is lower. The leaves on the top of the trees are starting to change. It's a lot quieter. The sun takes longer to rise. And it's actually the nature and seasons that have a lot to teach us. Mother Nature isn't trying to rush, or during winter, it doesn't try to be summer. And so it's actually a signal to us too as human beings of, okay, where can we embrace the transition and slow down? And slowing down doesn't mean not producing or being productive. It's actually being really intentional of those times of productivity and producing. So I like to think about that actually seasons have a lot to teach us. And so hopefully today, walking away with some new insights of how to slow down so you can be even more productive. A little bit around kind of the science of what's going on in our body when we think about stress or perhaps anxiety. And again, this is just a high level insight. When we think about, there's so much around reducing, managing stress, and it's almost an impossible goal. Knowing that it's always going to be there. As human beings, we've been built that stress and anxiety don't have to be bad things. They're actually signals that something's going on, right? There's a threat, a perceived threat. And what it is, it's figuring out what is how bad is that threat? Because when I say threat, it could be we're in the woods and there's a bear. And that's like a real threat of like, okay, fight, flight, or freeze. What am I going to do? In our waking day, a perceived threat could be an email that kind of puts us in a weird mode, that we're reading it and it's from a client or from our boss. and we go into that fight, flight, or freeze. And so really thinking about these different paradigms that I have here of when we think about stress, the definition that we like to use is that stress is the demands of the environment outweigh the resources we need to cope with it. So we're really thinking about what is the demand and what are the resources we need to cope with it. Do we have those resources? The old paradigm when we think about stress is that acute stress perhaps is that's what activates kind of like this physiological response to the threat. So it's almost like we have no stress and then there's a perceived threat and then we go up and then we come back down. What we want to focus on today is on the right when we think about this new one, that we're always activated, that actually we are kind of already on a high alert, kind of a buzz, ready for any threats. And so when we're thinking about that, thinking about how do we create what we call recovery strategies or safety signals to signal to our bodies, because again, in those moments of a perceived threat, whether it's an email or a bear, our body is going to respond the same or at similar levels. So again, we might feel it. For me, I feel it in my chest. My chest gets really tight. Sometimes I get a little shaky and my heart rate starts to increase. So what's happening is my body is then telling my head, oh, we're in trouble. This isn't safe. And it's knowing then, what is that fight, flight, or freeze? Freeze, I do nothing. Flight, I leave. Or fight, maybe we get angry. And so it's in those moments of knowing, okay, we're able to name it. We're kind of in that state. And then these recovery strategies of then what can calm and reset and signal, we're okay. It's just an email. But what do we do in those moments? And it's really in that pause and transition of how do we respond to be able to move forward. And so what we're going to do is we have a few ideas of what these recovery strategies are. But first, I'm going to welcome back Shantae to talk about, okay, so when we're in that moment, what it's doing, it's bringing us below the line or out of balance. And how does it bring us back into balance? Just kind of describe a little bit of this.
Absolutely. So I like hashtags and acronyms, right? So what we like to talk about with above the line, ATL, not down south, shawty, and below the line, BTL. So above the line and below the line, right? So essentially what Sam was just talking about, right? You know, that fight, flight, or fright, you know what I'm saying? You be like, yo, what am I about to do? You below the line, right? Your body, what Sam was talking about, right? That tensing up. And even when Samantha talked about in the chest, what's so amazing is that when we are connected to our bodies, there's this experience that we can have, right? And so when you think about below the line, that fight, flight, freeze, or disassociate and appease, that's that surviving, that's that struggle bus. You know, you like barely can make it. You like coffee where, caffeine who, right? And even whatever the situation may be, but there's this like, you're climbing, trying to make it. But then on the other side of that, right? It's the above the line, the thriving. This is that energy. You like, yo, I'm ready to go. Coffee, I don't need it. I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Because you found a way to go up. And sometimes when it comes to our well-being, going up definitely takes us very far. Yet we can sometimes fall again below the line. And so in thinking about this for your own well-being and your sustainability, right? Because what we're talking about is longevity in these pieces, right? We've experienced collectively a whole global health crisis that is still happening, right? We've experienced so many shifts for our mental, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, soulful well-being. It's so many levels because we're constantly recreating each day. So that surviving below the line, honestly, did you have a moment already in September where you felt like you were on the struggle bus, where you felt like you were in a space, right? You raise your hand, Sam, because you was listen, the struggle be real. And then, but did you name it though? Right? You felt it somewhere. For me, it's right there in my right glute area, be tight right there in the IT band, you know, the hips, they hold so much in there. What? And it wasn't until I named what that was that I was feeling and what was going on that I was able to ease out of that. And so in thinking about from going through these paradigms, right, this old paradigm, the new paradigm, and what that looks like, there is something that is so powerful about above the line and below the line. There's a middle part. Because I know you're like, yo, okay, Shantae, y'all talking all this good stuff and that's cute or whatever, but you just, you know, you stating some things I already know. But here's the thing. I want to invite you all to think about the last time you were below the line. And if you're currently there, that's okay. Honestly, I had a moment yesterday. I was on a flight back from Philly to Chicago, and I was on the plane, happened to look out the window. Normally, I don't sit in the window seat singing Erykah Badu. Can I get a window seat? No, yeah, somebody was sitting next to me. And so I was sitting out, and all of a sudden, instantly, I got emotional. I got sad, and I started crying. And I'm like, wait, hold on. I was good before I did this. What happened? And what happened in that moment, there was this fight. There was this freeze. Because emotions on a plane, and you know what I'm saying, ain't it, right? That was that moment I felt below the line. What happened was that I named it. And I realized, like, wait, you know, Shantae, why are you feeling this way? Yes, I talked to myself. Sean, what's up? And it took me back to my mom transitioning back in 2013. And the thing about the experience in itself and just sharing that below the line moment and kind of like literally surviving, kind of like in the space of grief, is that my mom, I was living in DC at the time, and my mom had just come to visit me 13 days prior. And she transitioned December 7th. And so December 8th, I was on a flight, the same airport. I took her to DCA. I was at DCA. I, went on American. I was on American. She was on American. Flew into Chicago, and all of that hit. And so I'm bringing this up because grief is something that folks experience in a way of a roller coaster. And yesterday, girl, she said, "Hey, what's up, girl? How you doing?" Well, I was below the line. And in that moment of feeling those feelings, there was something that happened for me in that middle to get me above the line. I know you're like, wait, you still holding out on us, Shantae? What's good? Like, what was it though? What did that for you? I'm gonna tell you in a second. It's coming. Because that middle part is what allowed for me to go from being in the fight on the flight, pun intended, mode, because I named it. And I was able to be present in that moment, because emotions are real, B. You know, some of us who probably haven't been emotionally releasing before, you know, the global health crisis, are probably finding our moments where we like crying, and it's like, but it's just an email. Why am I? Well, there's something there that's happening. And so in getting to above the line and getting to a connection and getting to engagement and courage, and using that example, there was something that happened for me. And I'm gonna pause for a second, actually. Because in holding that example for me, I want to ask you all to do something. I want to invite you all to put in the chat, when you think of well-being, stress, and being in balance as it relates to your role, what comes to mind? When you think about well-being, stress, and being in balance as it relates to your role, what comes to your mind? What comes to mind right now? Right? Holding what I shared as my example. And there's a question that dropped in the chat. When you think about the well-being, because yesterday I was good, G. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm cool. Just had a great time in Philly with conference and whatever, you know what I'm saying? My well-being was on this. And there was something that shifted. And the stress itself, or what showed up for me, was more as it connects to grief in a way of being present though, right? But I had to get myself back in balance, right? So when I go below the line, yep, Samantha. When I go below the line, it is hard for me to stay motivated in my role and doing my work. Yes. Okay, cool. Anyone else? What happens when you go below the line? Yes, Becca. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Feeling not in control, being perceived as on it, even when I don't feel like it. What else? Now, don't tell me these faces that we don't see on here and y'all not even gonna put in the chat. I'm just saying. Aha, appreciate that, Jocelyn. Yes, the honesty with that. Withdrawal, feeling lost, feeling of being untethered, grounded, ungrounded. Yo, that's so real. Procrastination, defeated. Yes, loud. Oh my goodness. That, overstimulation. I just got chills, honestly. Right? Feeling chaotic. And so gratitude. Yeah. Thank you for that, Samantha. Yeah. And the reality of that, right? The processing through that, and then trying to figure out how to go from below the line to above the line in this new language, right? So this stress and this overall well-being, what can you do? Well, here's what we got. That middle part that I was talking about, that middle piece, well, what we suggest are recovery strategies. There's that middle piece, right? So earlier, Samantha shared how naming it, when we feel in that moment below the line, the fight, flight, fright bars, when you feel that tense in your chest or in your shoulder, what is stress at though? For those of you all who go visit the chiropractor or massage therapist, you know what I'm saying? What they say is it? Where is it? Right here? Man, right here, right now. Yes. Be feeling like bag lady over here, carrying so many things. Well, that middle piece of recovery strategies is what supports the thriving. So being above the line. And so this is where we're inviting you all to consider, right? And what does that look like? Well, something that we just did now when it comes down to our morning rituals. This could be right here, right? The meditation, breathing techniques, the inhale, the exhale, the fire breathing, movement. Going to the loo sometimes, the bio break is real in these streets because y'all be holding it in. You're like messing up the kidneys and everything. Like, yo, go to the bathroom. But truly just getting up and moving. And that hydration, baby. Listen, you got to stay hydrated. Team, I got to drink H2O. And if you got to sprinkle a little bit of sea salt in there for electrolytes, that's helpful too. And music. What? Come on now. Thinking about your favorite song that gets you into the mood, baby, there's a playlist for that. So finding that balance, right? When you feel it, when you sense it, in that surviving moment of that below the line and that recovery strategy, utilizing one of these recovery strategies to then put it into the next piece, which is that thriving. Like, how can I get over it? So I know you're like, yo, Sean, or maybe you're not. So what happened, right? Yesterday, I was in a space where I was below the line. And what happened for me after naming it, I was listening to music as per usual. And in listening to music, what I was feeling, there was a sense of gratitude that had come over me. That though I was sad in that moment, there was also there was an and to it. I was grateful. one, I got a relief and a release. I also had to make sure, I was sniffing and like I had allergies, but I didn't want nobody to think I had COVID. I had my test on site, what I'm saying? I just took a test, look, I'm just saying. But seriously though, the recovery strategy that I used was breathing. I allowed myself to pause. So in the midst of the crying and the flowing, I didn't do one of them ugly cries, but I did have that moment of breath. And so when y'all thinking about this for yourselves and thinking about recovery strategies and how it is that you're taking it to the next level, what we're going to do now is inviting you to think about that and sharing. What does it mean for you to recover? Yes, Florence. Yes. Ooh, wait. Yes. Because sometimes you just got to let it, literally, you got to let it out. Like literally. I'm taking advantage of getting a little loud because no one's around. So that being able to scream it out, right? And what that provides and what that invites for you too. And some of us are like, no, I'm actually okay. I don't need to do all of that. So breathing is something that you are invited to do as well. So I'm going to pause because what's really dope about what we've experienced in our work with Samantha and I is the folks who are participants are literally the experts in the room. And so in thinking about recovery strategies for yourself, so Florence just dropped off some knowledge real quick in the chat. What we're going to do is pose that question. So what we're going to have you all do is break you up into a group real quick to be able to discuss daily recovery strategies you currently have or want to implement. Now, understand this now. Understand. This is meant to take it to the next level. But I'm going to actually pause and throw it over to you, Sam, to set us up for this conversation.
Wow, thank you, Shantae, for your vulnerability and your openness. I really appreciate you sharing about your experience yesterday and your grief, and that name it piece. I mean, for your courage and sharing that with us. And there's just so much power in that naming it for self, because then I think it inspires and empowers others to name it. And that, like you said, emotions are human are emotions. And I think for a long time we've tried to separate that. We say often that we're human beings, we're not human doing. So yes, we have so much to contribute to this world and in our work and what you are all doing in your companies, in your businesses. You are creating so much, and it's focusing on you as an individual person and taking care of you so that you can share your gifts and your talents with so many. And so what we would love for you to do, as Shantae said, is we're going to put you in a breakout room for about 7 minutes, and you're going to be with some new people. And this is a time to share and connect. What are strategies you're already doing that's helpful? What are strategies you maybe want to try? And I do want to call out that we want to honor your reality, and your schedules could be tight and you have so much demand, right? That stress, the demand could be more than your resources. And when we say recovery strategies, this could be before responding to an email that kicked you up. It's a 3-minute, 3 breaths. It could be a standing up, walking around the room and coming back. This doesn't have to be, I take an hour out of my day if you're not able to. It's a quick walk outside and coming back in. So again, thinking about your reality, what are some strategies you could try or that you're doing that are helpful? And we wanted to do it in breakout rooms to really share in that collective, to know that you're not alone in this, and perhaps learning something new that someone else is doing. So at this point, any questions about where we're going to go next? 7 minutes into this group chat, sharing recovery strategies you use or want to implement, and then we're going to bring you back. Awesome. Okay, so I am going to open the breakout rooms, and we'll see you all back soon. Awesome. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I know we only have a few more minutes left. So we would love if people wanted to share in the chat or even come off mute. Maybe 2 people to share strategies that you're using that you want to use, or just how that breakout session went. So if 2 people just want to share out some insights, that would be wonderful, chat or live.
Will I go, Samantha? Will I start?
Yeah, let's go on.
What I spoke with lovely Florence, who's actually in Washington, and may see her later on this afternoon, which would be great. What I kind of feel is the long-term prevention, I think for me is massive, because I feel that like I kind of go, and then it hits me, and I kind of was like, if I did the steps day to day, would I get to that point where there's overwhelmed as much? Now, obviously you can't prevent it all the time, but I think for me, it's putting steps in place gradually, that you're kind of day to day looking after yourself, instead of trying to kind of do loads and then, you know, tiredness hits, or just a pure overwhelm. It doesn't have to be that big of a deal, but it does hit you. So I think for me, it is about putting those steps in place. I find it very hard during busy times. I think that's when I find it hard to kind of keep those going, those steps. So I think I need to be more strict about that, but that's what I kind of felt from our session to kind of work on a bit.
Thank you for sharing, Allison. And, you know, what I'm hearing too is, like Shantae said, a lot of gratitude and forgiveness for ourselves. Some days are easier than others. Yesterday, my Monday, I was like, yep, we're just going to spend a day below the line. We're going to be here, and tomorrow's a new day. And I think it's just recognizing that too, that we're going to dip above and below, and that's okay. But we're not going to, there's nothing to fix. You are all whole and perfect just the way you are. And it's just naming when those moments happen to bring you back into balance, again, about you and feeling good. And I know we're at a minute, and Shantae is already on it. She's putting in the chat our Instagram handles, Wild Leadership Instagram, and our website. Again, Shantae and I work with individuals, teams, groups, workshops, helping individuals understand their power and their greatness and uniqueness, and how to bring that in full force. Yeah, Shantae, please share.
And in bringing that in full force, we want to gift you all to consider, what is one recovery strategy that you will be present with in October? Knowing that we're still here in September, bringing that September into October, what is one recovery strategy that you will choose to leave with? Yes, breathing. Yes, yes. Anybody else? Anybody else? Yes, okay. Yeah, I was already in October thinking about the rest of September. Look at that. Morning ritual, taking a pause, stepping away from the screen. And on that note, thank you all. On behalf of Sam and I, on behalf of Wild Leadership, we appreciate you all in gratitude. And please, please take care of yourselves. You are humans. Be gentle, be kind. Gratitude. Gratitude. Enjoy the rest of the start.
Thank you. Yes, have so much fun this week.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you so much.
Yes.
Oh, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. That was very special, I think, this morning. So thank you so much, Samantha and Shantae, for hosting a great talk. I mean, that was brilliant. And we appreciate your time and the support of the DC Startup community. So thank you so, so much. And to everyone who attended, thank you for being part of our community as well. We have amazing sessions coming up. You can see the timetable there. They're on all this morning. So we hope to see the rest of them, and have a fantastic day. Thanks a million, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Allison, John. Bye, everyone.